Okay, so tell us about, introduce yourself and tell us about your film.
So my name's Hari. I'm the director and producer of Tether.
We had the opportunity to sit down with some of the official selections of the Dances with Films Festival during their press junket. It was such a pleasure meeting these passionate filmmakers, and I hope you enjoyed the conversations as much as I did.
So Tether is a narrative feature. It deals with the aftermath of a mass shooting attack. A grieving father who's lost his daughter in the mass shooting. He comes into contact with the ex police officer who couldn't, pull the trigger on the day of shoot. How their lives get intertwined, and what more darkness is going to be unleashed is the story of Tether.
Is there a version of Leonard Miller that loved and enjoyed the company of others?
I don't know.
Maybe we can find out.
Maybe.
According to a spokesperson, a criminal investigation into the shooting where a gunman killed 19 children and 2 teachers in May is underway. Hundreds of law enforcement officers who responded to the school, including those from DPS, did not confront the shooter for more than an hour after the initial report.
Gerald Gaines?
He wasn't the one who pulled the trigger.
Exactly! The one guy who should have pulled the trigger didn't! Whatever answer you're looking for, you're not gonna find it. All I'm capable of is disappointment.
So you don't believe he deserves help?
No! I don't!
I'd like to be a cloud. I could fly high in the sky, but I'd always come back so you wouldn't have to miss me.
So what inspired you to write this story and to direct this?
So Anghus Houvouras is the writer of the story. When I read the script for the first time, I really liked, the family dynamics, the story of, the father, mother, and the daughter. I also liked the arc of the police officer. I also had a problem, in the place where I was living. I had a 60-year-old flatmate with whom I didn't get along, and when I complained to the landlord about it, he would text me and say, don't go and complain to him. But the same person would complain about me to the landlord, and there were a lot of problems that were being created, and I was getting stressed because of it. And at one point I felt, what if, if I complain, if I go up against him, what if he carries a gun?
Right.
And that made me vacate the place. And at that time I was reading the script as well, so I thought, okay, this is that personal connection I needed, because I'm an outsider. In India we don't have this problem. So we just wanted to make this as an outsider to this country.
And what did you guys want to say about the complexity of healing and taking personal responsibility and things?
I think this is a film that's it's inherently it's a film that's made for people who have survived against all odds, who have dealt with this tragedy, but the mainstream media, not too much of mainstream media talks about them. We don't see too much of films also. I think the films that we have seen so far regarding the shooting attack, it's always from the perspective of the shooter, what led them to this. That's what I think, the filmmakers think that no, there is drama in that, but I think in these stories also there is a lot of drama happening, which people do not, they shy away from covering it. So that's what we tried with this film. We have multiple perspectives, and we have the timeline also jumping back and forth between the past and the present. So I think it's come out in a very interesting way.
Yeah, and what do you think the difference of perspectives kind of add to what the audience get from the movie, where we're used to kind of seeing it, like you said, from the shooter's perspective. So what did that add?
Firstly, I think giving a different perspective makes it a very character-driven work. Also, we are having kind of diverse perspectives. Like, just to give an example, when I read the script, this is not just a regular, like, that's a tragedy in itself, like, where, it's a happy family, and, a tragedy struck where, they lost it. That itself is very heartbreaking. But in this film, the writer Angus didn't just stop with a happy family alone. He had a very complex, he had written a very complex relationship between, like, the father, mother, and the daughter.
Yeah.
And so, if, like, already they were dealing with some kind of issues, that's what made it very interesting for me. And also, the girl, the character Paula, she also has a very interesting perspective of the world, of her family. So it just makes for very complex characters. And in the, obviously, like, after the tragedy happens, what is the father's perspective? What is the mother's perspective?
Yeah.
What is the police officer's perspective? When you have these diverse perspectives, you have scope for great conflict, you have scope for great drama.
Yeah.
And that's what makes this, hopefully, very engaging for the audiences.
Yes. And did that require a lot of preparation, like with the actors? How much, character analysis did you do, or did they do that on their own, or what was the preparation process like?
I always believe, because we live in we're trying to make independent films, the chances of trying to do a lot on the film, like, during the filming process, is going to be like super hard. So I believe a lot in, like, the pre-production process, the writing stage, try nailing it down like as much as possible. So I think all the hard work was done by Angus with respect to the screenplay. So a lot of it was, like, written down already.
Okay.
But so when we did the casting process, the most difficult character to crack was the police officer's character. Because this is a film that's inherently, like, it starts after a tragedy, right? That's 3 years
Right.
after a shooting incident. So the tone itself is not, like, very upbeat.
Yes.
So, and you're giving multiple perspectives. So if the father is sad, you don't want the police officer to be, like, dealing with the same level of sadness. You kind of want to mix it up. What I mean by this is, like, Angus wrote him as a self-deprecating character. So he jokes about his he jokes about himself. He thinks he's a joke written by God. He talks in a very self-deprecating way. So it kind of creates a distinction between how the father deals with grief and how the police officer deals with grief.
Okay. So would you say it is a film about grief,
Yeah.
partly, right? So, was there a lot of talk with the actors, or like, it must have taken a lot of trust, right, in the people that you cast to deal with such a heavy thing that they may not have gone through, right?
Yeah, I think the casting process was, like, it was kind of extensive. I felt like we had the again, like, I think how we have, like, some kind of difference between these characters and their performances mattered a lot. So that's why, like, the father deals with grief in a certain way.
Yes.
I had to have multiple rounds of rehearsal with the actor playing the police officer, for him to also find, like, who this police officer really is. That took us time, and it's not because of the actor. It is just because, like, I was also trying to figure out as a director how to find, like, something unique about this character. And with respect to the casting, I think the toughest one to find was the therapist character.
Therapist. Oh, wow.
Because a lot of, I felt like there's a lot of empathy that this character needs to, generate, like, for audiences to really feel this character, and for this character to feel towards Leonard's character. So it was so tough to find the therapist. But I think Laura, who was cast, she was amazing, like, from her first self-tape itself. And we knew, like, whatever happens, we'll work with her in some capacity on this film, because she brings a very authentic voice to the therapist character.
Yeah. It's interesting that you say that, because I do feel like therapist characters, like, they're kind of always portrayed in the same light, where they're kind of exposition almost for the character. And they don't really have a life of their own. So it's really interesting that you took the time to give that character life and have their own perspective of what the characters are going through.
Yeah. She has her own perspective of what she's undergoing in this film as well. Yeah.
Yeah. What would you say is the most challenging aspect of telling this story that, about like trauma and regret and everything, and what did this film teach you?
I think like a lot of, so I started making short films in 2021. It took me like a year to make that first professional looking short film. Then I think within 1.5 years of that, I ended up making this film. So this growth has been like, not the growth, but the progression has been like really rapid for me. So every stage has been like a really big learning curve, especially with this film. The pre-production, kind of doing multiple rounds of rewrites to prepare for the shoot. We shot this film in 10 days.
Wow.
So if we didn't do the pre-production work well, I don't think that would have even been possible. This is so the final duration is like 85 minutes, so we shot this in like 10 days, and obviously the post-production was a beast in itself. Every stage had its challenges, but I think the biggest challenge for me is like to pitch this film, to try selling it to people, for various reasons. And since I'm very new to this, like it's not even, I think, like 4 years since I made my first short film. I'm still navigating this industry. I'm still navigating this independent industry, how things work, how to find the right person to champion your film. So all that I think I'm trying to learn through this film. So for the next film, I'll be like cautious. I kind of know what to do to get this project in the way I want.
So I feel like that's an incredible feat, right? 4 years in the film industry is kind of like nothing, right? So it's amazing that you're already directing. You already directed your feature film. So that's great. I think that's good. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.